What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square chasing cinema.
Mr. James Hsu.com.
You know, I'm a Gemini.
Are you really?
I'm on the last day of Gemini.
Are you?
Right before
you a
Cancer.
Gemini, huh?
So there's technically 3 of me, yo.
I hear peeps tell me I shouldn't hang out with you then. Here, Geminis you gotta watch out for.
I bet not want to hang out with you regardless of what
y'all
you are.
be two-faced, like Harvey Dent.
Will Smith in.
Gemini Man. There's only one Gemini show and you're not it. It's Will, well actually there's 2 Gemini, but it's Will Smith. And Ang Lee's new film, Gemini Man.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Woo! Hey. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Choreography?
Some of the best fight choreography in the world. Some of the best fight psychology. You don't hear a lot of people talk about fight psychology, but one of my favorite fight scenes comes out of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it's not because of how good it is, even though it is masterful. It honestly tells an amazing story. His fight sequence, especially particularly that movie, Art.
Zhang Ziyi. Michelle Yeoh.
And then now you got Life of Pi.
That ending. Oh my god.
Brokeback Mountain.
The ending of Life of Pi.
Yeah, blew you away.
Oh my god.
You're like, what? Were you a big fan of that?
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Brokeback Mountain, Ang Lee did.
It's good.
Most recently, a movie neither of us saw. Billy Flynn's Long Halftime Walk, which was about a soldier who
I didn't see that.
Who, you know, about his experiences, and then like his reward is that he gets to do this walk on the Super Bowl halftime show, and just kind of about
true
him.
Story?
Yeah, I don't know if it's based on a true story. I'm sure it's inspired by some shoulder stuff, but I remember it being a supposedly big thing for visual reasons, like most of the time with Ang Lee stuff, and obviously it's kind of a big anchor here as we have Will Smith playing himself and a younger version of Will Smith. But going into it, I mean, where are your expectations? Yeah?
Well, I love Will Smith.
Yeah.
The premise of Gemini Man sounds awesome. The way that they filmed this, 120 frames per second, 4K. They've been boasting about this for the past year and a half, or a year, really, when it started the marketing promotions and stuff. So I'm so excited about it. And then,
which I'm sure we'll talk about.
The bad news came out recently that there isn't one movie theater in America that will be showing this film the way that it's actually supposed to be seen, which is 4K, 120 frames per second. Even the camera we're using this to film this films in 120 frames per second. Yeah. Granted,
it is a normal thing to kind of see when filmmakers and people making the movies want to push the boundaries of technology, but they forget that the movie industry
the movie theater
industry isn't doing very well. It's very hard to switch technology to adapt, to fill movie theaters like this with projectors that can handle that kind of stuff.
Which some people may not know, James Cameron, that's why it took him so long to do the first Avatar. Yeah. He was waiting for the technology and...
Which you could say a lot of, and I mean that's true thing. I mean, obviously it's easier to go backwards. Tarantino obviously being a big fan of the 30, 70 millimeter, he's able to find those projectors. But it's hard to get new projectors in movie theaters because there's so many of them. So I mean, usually when you see something like this, very similar to Avatar, very similar. Like remember Dark Knight was on IMAX, and a lot of people did get a witness it on IMAX. And usually when the demand comes higher for it, usually that's when you start seeing them kind of usher in the theaters. But nevertheless,
this script has been also floating around in Hollywood for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Harrison Ford, were all attached or at least spoken to at one point. But the technology,
I wonder why it never got made.
The technology was just never there to get it to where they wanted to go. And now I think there's now 3 screenwriters for this. Benioff, of Game of Thrones.
It was he did. I think he wrote Fury. Adam was it Gilroy? No. But I saw one of the names and it caught my eye.
It's been through the plastic surgeon a few times.
Yeah, it's had definitely a few write-ups. Well, Gemini Man, 2 hours of Will Smith times 2.
Well, I mean, I just got out, and I can tell you that number one, Will Smith is in it, so I'm already liking it.
Which is interesting because, if we look down his track record, when's the last time you really enjoyed a Will Smith movie? We had Aladdin.
Yeah, Aladdin.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So the last one he did, you freaking
Aladdin. Okay, so me, I'm not so hot on the Will Smith.
Okay, but on a serious note, this one wasn't great for me. It's not a bad movie or anything. I don't think it's bad. I can't recommend it, honestly. If someone's like, I'm gonna watch it, but go ahead and check it out, I guess. But if someone's like, should I watch it? I don't know if I can say that this.
So what put you off? Was it not what you expected?
I'm gonna put myself through torture and watch it again because the AMC we live in, is one of only 14 AMCs in all of North America that actually is playing this 120 frames per second 3D.
Yeah.
So I'm going to watch it just for the complete visual masterpiece that it's supposed to be in. Because that's the best way you can at least see it if you're going to watch it, not the way we watched it. The way we watched it, you can tell there's scenes where sometimes people call it soap opera-like. That's the term that sometimes people. So it's like if you ever watched Days of Our Lives or any soap operas, the way that's filmed, the cameras, there's scenes that like
it's
this.
It's more of it has to do with like TV smooth, all these things that we're able to catch more with our eye because the more frames per second we're able to process, just more smoother visuals. A lot of TVs offer that stuff, visuals. But in this case, in this case we had to slow it down a little bit.
So yeah, I'm excited to watch it again.
You are excited to watch it again
for the visuals. Okay. There was a lot of criticism on the Lord of the Rings when Peter Jackson did the 120, and a lot of people hated it. They hated it. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen when I go through this. But this story.
But let's be honest, not as many people are going to be seeing this as this a Lord of the Rings.
This movie wasn't great. I didn't think it was great at all. Miss Winstead.
Yep.
She was cool. Can't really say too much.
I
enjoyed her.
What about the star attraction? Let's get. I mean, Clive Owen's in this. Clive Owen's been around for some time.
Didn't care for him too much in this.
Clive Owen's never really like stood out.
He has a small thing in this movie, and I didn't even care for what he was in either.
So, the main attraction,
Mr.
the Fresh Prince.
Fresh Prince was great, but then it was so deterring a lot of times for the movie on the D8. It's like weird because like I've seen Marvel films do better de-aging. I feel like I don't know, but that last 10 minutes, like literally train wreck fell apart. Like,
well, let them know what happened. What fell apart.
Well, they're talking to each other at the end of the movie. This isn't a spoiler. They're just talking to each other, and you can just tell that. I think Dallas mentioned voiceover. You could just tell. It's just like what happened, and then,
so you're talking like CGI visuals. Everything just kind of went to train wreck.
You know, me and you made the joke, but they were like 95% done with the movie, and then Ang Lee called up Paramount and said, "Hey,
where's my money at?
Why is the bank account at zero? Like last night there was another $5 million." And then Paramount was like,
"Hey, we got a few interns that could edit."
And then, okay, I already did the movie. You know, so it's like, what happened? Like, the movie was rough.
I think Ang Lee has been a pioneer in visuals for so long that I think that might be what he only really cares about. And I think that's kind of apparent here. You know, Ang Lee was the guy who brought something like Brokeback Mountain, which was like a really fleshed out, character-driven story. But then you get Life of Pi, which was really big on 3D. Kind of 3D was emerging on a new level. Not, obviously not like Avatar, but it was definitely progressing. It was definitely getting more impressive. We were able to bring in
motion capture.
I mean, Life of Pi was definitely a movie that got hailed for his visuals. Gemini Man, a movie that, as you say, has been sitting around for 20 years, which
something like that.
It feels like because this feels
the type
this
of
movie.
Yes,
90s. This type of movie feels very dated. Actually, the idea of like the clone, and I mean, because it feels very repetitive now. But if it's been around for 20 years, it feels like it would have been a great movie with young and like Bruce Willis. But we saw that movie. It was called Looper
by Rian Johnson.
Yeah, which we loved. But this is an instance of just a movie that I think Ang Lee took on as a challenge to really kind of change the way that, obviously start that pioneership, really going into the 4K world, to explore those visuals, to mess with de-aging. One thing we've seen in nearly all very successful movies this year, or very successful filmmakers talk about, is the de-aging process. We have The Irishman coming up, Martin Scorsese's a 3.5-hour epic, which is supposed to completely change the game when it comes to...
And is being hailed
as a masterpiece of another level. We saw some of it in Endgame. We've seen these moments more and more. Winter Soldier. I mean, there was another movie that had some de-aging this year that I'm spacing on. But we've seen this technology happen more and more, and them try to get better at it. And it's very rare that it actually looks very good. My problem with this movie is that it didn't look like a younger Will Smith as much. It just looked like someone who kind of looked like Will Smith. Like, his face didn't look the same. It didn't look as symmetrical. You know when someone takes a photo on the Mac filter, there's a mirroring photo where if you put your face in the right aspect, it makes it completely symmetrical? It looked like that, where it was like, that's not Will's face, but I guess it looks like two left sides of Will's face, or something along those lines. Again, here I think the problem is that the story feels very dated. It doesn't feel very something you could really invest in. It feels very generic in terms of like, it's two really, really top secret agents that are stuck in a pickle and have to work together, and this pickle just happens to be a clone, which everyone is so willing to just be like, cool, clones, And then the movie ends up taking it and kind of makes it almost like a very joking, ridiculous matter. I actually didn't mind Will Smith here. I thought there were a few moments that I thought Will Smith actually did do some good, and I was kind of surprised because I was really going into this movie being after. I also thought he was the best part of Aladdin, but I wasn't a fan of that. But I thought he was actually quite good here as older Will Smith. I don't think there was much to go home about young Will Smith or anything like that. I don't think the movie would have felt any different if you would have cast an actor that just kind of looks like Will Smith, or even have cast Jade. I think it wouldn't have changed how I felt about the movie. Just because they didn't even really look as closely as I thought I wanted to. Like the first time we see the clone Will Smith, you're like, oh man, and then the next couple shots, you're like, oh wait, does that look like him? And then it's not until we finally get into these really, really close moments towards the middle of the movie that we're actually like looking at them. And you're like, okay, I get it, but.
And then the last 5 minutes of the university?
Yeah. Well,
that killed me, dog. That killed me. I know it shouldn't, but it killed me.
Is there anything you want to say, non-spoilers?
I don't even know what the spoilers are.
Well, okay, I'm going to spoil it. And like the whole idea that, spoilers, the whole idea that this guy like raised him as a kid, and he was like his son, and he called him, like, all that just felt so like very 90s to me. That was where like things felt really dated. Yeah, that's how it feels. Honestly, I think there was a few things visually you could look at. I thought there was this one really great shot in the movie when both Will Smiths are racing on dirt bikes. And there's this one really great shot where the dirt bike is just hitting car after car and turn after turn. And and it's just a really well shot moment, and you're just like, wow, and you just, you're waiting for them to make that cut, and they just don't do it. And it was a really impressive shot. I think there are one or two fight sequences or action sequences that I thought had some very potential to them. One, of course, took place between the two Wills in the catacombs. I thought was an impressive fight sequence. But overall, I didn't have much of an impression from this movie. I was kind of something I watched very passively, very like confused of just like how everyone was just like, oh yeah, clone them, kill them.
5 on 10.
5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not horrible.
It's not. Honestly, if you would, I thought I would have disliked this movie more than I did. So I will say that for it. I honestly liked it more than I expected to. But it wasn't
2 out of 4.
Yeah, 1.5, 2 out of 4. It was very like, okay, it's very forgetful. I don't think it has anything that stands with it. I don't think it's a movie that will make any statements cinematically or anything like that. But I've seen worse this year alone. So,
damn.
What are you gonna do? Nothing. But next week.
I don't know.
All sorts of stuff coming out next week. We have Zombieland, double tap.
Ooh, Twinkies.
Yeah, we have. All sorts of crazy stuff going on next week. I'm trying to think what else. But Zombieland is one. Jay and Silent Bob reboot will hit fandom events. That's going to be a little bit underground. We won't be doing that one, but that's a big one. We also have Maleficent, Mistress of Evil coming out as well. And then there's one more that I cannot think of.
Angelina Jolie.
And I think it's a smaller movie. Oh, thank you very much, good sir. And The Lighthouse. Oh, yes. A movie that I'm incredibly looking at. Yeah, Batman himself. Batman Angry Goblin. Going to be black and white, stuck together in a lighthouse. Looks like it's going to be quite intense. If I'm not mistaken, it's at A24. Those that A24 is one of the few studios that are kind of like really promoting themselves as like the Oscar studio. They just released
the new
series.
Weinstein.
Yeah, they're a real powerhouse. Like anytime A24 sets up something, like it's a very big, they really, really work hard. Actually, to get even kind of film nerdier, if you guys really are big, really movie buffs, they just put out these beautiful collections of books. I think they did 4 series. They did Moonlight and 3 other pictures where they just did these beautiful table book collections of them, and really, really great looking. But next week, join us here at AMC Town Square. We're going to have those movies, plenty of options to choose from. Zombieland, Mistress of Evil, all that fun stuff here.
Which one are you watching?
It's a good question. I have a feeling I will probably end up seeing Zombieland.
I gotta do Zombieland.
Yeah. See, I was on the train and it was like, who's asking for a Zombieland sequel? But I guess people do want to see it, so I'll give it a shot.
Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson.
You know in the trailer when they're like, that's so 2009. That's what I think of when I think of
Nut
Zombieland.
Up or Shut Up.
Yeah, not even the line, just the movie. Like, yeah, sure. Zombieland 2 would have been fun in 2010. But hey, I've always been someone who preached the idea that sequels should be spaced out because you really should take the time to miss those characters. They just weren't characters I particularly missed very much. But hey, if people are excited to see them and they made a good movie, I'm all about it.
Holla back.
All right.
JamesHsu.com is known as
the Film Lovers website.